What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the what's next for undefeated junior welterweight contender Richardson Hitchins, following his career best win and his he received his ticket to the party. He pretty much outclassed and outworked and dominated former three-time world title challenger Jose Zepeda. You know, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support. So back to Richardson Hitchins' victory over Zepeda. You know, it's not that it wasn't impressive. He boxed well, he did well. But I don't see, like Shakur Stevenson hit it on the head. He said he doesn't think a lot of guys are gonna want to fight Hitchins. It's not because he's not necessarily beatable. It's his style is going to be difficult to deal with. He's a classic pure boxer, defensive fighter, but he also doesn't pack a punch. So people aren't going to want to really tune in to watch him. So I really believe Hitchins is going to be a guy that really has to earn his fight by you know, earn his title shot and his place at the party. He's got to earn it more by moving up the ladder and beating other fighters. That's just what it's going to have to be, and he's going to have to mandate his shot, in my opinion, in order to get a chance at a world title. So I think he's got a long road ahead of him, but he's being showcased on DAZN. He's being, you know, he's being put out there as a main event. He defeated a former three-time world title challenger in Zepeda. You know, the experts seem impressed with the victory. He dominated the fight. So we'll see what happens, but let's run through the top 10 and see what's possibly next excuse me, for Hitchins. Now, before I get into the top 10, his highest rating right now is in the WBO, where he's number 4. I don't think he'll get an eliminator in the WBO until next year at the earliest, because late next year, because they're still deciding who's going to get the crack at Teofimo Lopez right now. So if Lopez chooses Barbosa or Jose Ramirez, they're probably going to give him time, and they'll probably order somebody else to possibly fight Hitchins next. So we just have to see how that all shakes out. His other highest one is in the IBF, where he's number 7. I think that's a more likely place, because the IBF, really, the champion there, Subriel Matias, he's a beatable fighter for a guy like Hitchins, but that doesn't mean he'll beat him. I just think his style, because he's a full-on slugger, and also he is an avoided fighter, Matias, and we'll get into that, but I think that's a more likely land for him to possibly get an eliminator sooner rather than later, but we'll get into that. So let's start at the top. Number 1, WBO champion Teofimo Lopez. Lopez has no interest in a guy like Hitchins. His style, and he's not a big name. Lopez will not be fighting Hitchins in the first half of 2024, so I don't see that one at all. Next, Josh Taylor, the former undisputed champion. Taylor's too big, and he's only had one loss to fight a guy like Hitchins. I don't think he gives him the time of day. I don't see that one. Then you got Regis Prograis, the reigning WBC champion. If Prograis beats Haney, he's too big for a guy like Hitchins. If he loses to Haney, it's more possible. It also depends on how he loses to Haney, but it would be more possible because Prograis is an avoided fighter. But what if he loses to Haney by like a long shot, right? Like he gets totally dominated and beat. Is he gonna want to fight another pure boxer after that in the first half of the year? I don't see it, so I'm gonna say no to this one, win or lose for Prograis against Haney. I mean for Hitchins against Prograis. Then Jose Ramirez, the former unified champion. I don't think Ramirez would fight him. It's also a I think Hitchins is with either Golden Boy or Matchroom, so they would have to cross the street to fight a guy like Ramirez. But just his style, stylistically, Ramirez has other options and better options that are more beatable for him, and I don't see him fighting a guy like Hitchins. Jack Catterall, this one's interesting because they're both with DAZN. But would Catterall want to take a risk against a guy like Hitchins, even though he's coming off the win over Zepeda? I don't see it. So I'm going to say no to that one as well. Sandor Martin. It depends on how avoided Martin gets, because we've seen Martin fight on DAZN a couple times now. And Martin is an avoided fighter as well, but he's also the WBC's #1 contender right now. So I think it's Martin's more inclined to wait around for the WBC to order a final eliminator for him and face somebody beatable with a bigger name than a guy like Hitchins in his style. So I'm going to say no to Martin as well, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. Then you got a guy like Gary Antoine Russell, and this might be a more plausible fight, but Russell's with the PBC, and he has other guys where the fights are more attractive for Russell. So I'm going to say even no to Gary Russell. Even though Russell's kind of an avoided fighter, the PBC can still line him up with fighters though. And I don't think this is an attractive matchup between these two. So I'm going to say no. Subriel Matias, the IBF champion. I don't see Matias fighting Hitchins next, but it could be a fight down the road for sure. Could be a fight in 2024 if Hitchins can position himself as the mandatory challenger in the first half of the year. I think that's possible. Then maybe he can get the showdown with Matias in the second half of the year, maybe. But I don't think it happens next. Arnold Barbosa Jr., he's already the WBO's #1 contender. I don't think the WBO would order him to fight Hitchins. I just don't think that would be, you know, a smart plan. And I don't think Bob Arum and Top Rank would want that either. So I'm going to say no to that one. He already defeated Jose Zepeda. Ryan Garcia, I don't see that fight. Garcia is too big of a name, even though he's with DAZN. I don't think Garcia would be interested in a fight with Hitchins. He's going to want bigger fights than that. And then Rolly Romero, the WBA champion. Again, another one, I don't see that one being a possibility. Romero has a mandatory due once he returns. And I also think he sees himself as a bigger name, a much bigger name, and he's a PBC fighter too. So Richardson Hitchins, as I said, is going to have a long road to a title shot or any of the guys in the top 10. I don't think any of them are lining up to fight Hitchins next. I think Hitchins is going to have to really grind it out and go after other fighters at 140 in order to get in line. Hopefully DAZN can get him a decent opponent like a Zepeda who's still hungry and still somewhat of a name to test him against. But we'll see what happens. But that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on Undefeated Junior Welterweight contender at 140 pounds, Richardson Hitchins, following his career best win and 12-round unanimous decision over Jose Zepeda, the former 3-time world title challenger. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.